Hello friends. Love is there but no sex. Does this situation sound familiar? Many couples face this, but do not know what to do. It seems that feelings are in place, you value each other, but intimate life is gradually coming to naught. Why is this happening? Is it normal or a sign of serious problems? And most importantly, is it possible to bring back the passion? Today, we will analyze the main reasons why sex disappears in a relationship and discuss real ways to fix everything. Stay until the end. It will be useful. The video is useful. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share with those who may benefit from this topic. And now to business. Love is there, but no sex. What place in the relationship is sex for you? Undoubtedly, it is a very important process for a couple and, I would even say, an indicator of the relationship. Family psychologists even have a joke. Tell me what is going on in your bedroom and I will tell you what difficulties there are and will be in the couple. And in this joke is very little something far-fetched or hypertrophied. In fact, it's exactly what it is. I can ask many people who are in long-term relationships. Do you remember? About how in the beginning, while everything is heated and passionate, sexuality is often given much, sometimes even too much, attention and importance. How later on, sexual life often takes a back seat. I'm not even talking about how far it usually recedes after children are born. By this time, there is already a common mortgage and a cottage with mother-in-law or mother-in-law and healthy human attachment nobody canceled. There is sex once every 2 months, and that's a joy. But most of the time, there's no time to think about it. And to be even more honest, I don't want to get into this thicket. Because if we ask ourselves and each other uncomfortable and frank questions, big problems can arise. Well then, let's ask at least some of them right here. What to do with your reluctance in bed? If a couple is just beginning to communicate, such questions usually do not arise. Either all fire or disperse. But what to do if you love a person and you are attached with all your soul and tenderness rises and want a hug, but imagine sex and immediately the hands go down. It is not even so important when and how it happened, after an illness, a break, by itself smoothly or somehow else. The fact remains that I love you, but I don't want to. This can cause a lot of intrapersonal conflict. How much is sex in our minds related to love? After all, for some, it is the ultimate indicator of dislike, a lack of sexual desire. Where is the line that can be tolerated and where do the problems start? As a family psychologist, I will say this: even if both partners are satisfied with the complete or almost complete absence of sexual life and you are doing well, your couple is at risk. It is clear that it happens in different ways. Circumstances can be very complicated and make their own adjustments. But the fact remains that good sex is a consequence of a harmonious relationship between a man and a woman, and it also fuels this relationship. First, a little about the circumstances. You can ignore the intimate sphere of the relationship, prioritize and give time to something else. Children, work, health. But the main thing is that it was a temporary rearrangement of priorities. If you abandon fruitful communication in bed for good, do not be surprised at the sudden catastrophes, when suddenly, quite unexpectedly, it turns out that the other half has someone on the side, and everything goes wrong. In fact, this scenario, one of the most common, and it arises precisely because of the habit of silence. One partner doesn't want to. The other decides to wait out the problem rather than talk. Eventually, over time, it becomes almost the norm, until one of the couple again has the thought, what about sex? Is it really over? If everything is neglected, the solution is sought on the side, with all the consequences another frequent trouble. How to be if the lack of sex does not suit only one. What to do if only one of the partners has a quite sensible thought in his head. I can't make myself want to. I love and deeply respect the person close to me. I even like him outwardly, but I lack the drive and fire, and I can't even beat myself to a pulp. And also the feeling of guilt comes into play. To offend your beloved/loved one, rejecting him, her, is a very unpleasant thing to do. You realize that he seems to have nothing to do with it, trying to please and give pleasure. Or does he have something to do with it? That's a complicated subject. So it should be said at once that these questions are multifaceted and it is impossible to find common advice for all. Each time, the history of fading attraction is individual, although there are some characteristic features. For example, attraction often disappears if someone in a couple changes a lot in appearance over the years. Yes, we love a person not for his appearance, but if sexually attracted by one image, and then he changed beyond recognition, the attraction can wave goodbye and go away. Quickly disappears sex in couples where one partner has a clear plan in his head. How, where, and how much it should happen. If the other deviates from the plan, there is a showdown. They say healthy sex is twice a week, why did we only have one this week? Or pout resentfully and drag out, "You don't want me." Hear from such pressure will definitely not want. Disappears fervor, and in the case when partners are lazy to show even the slightest fantasy in the relationship in bed. Having rubbed against each other, they find sometimes a few, and most often one scenario, which as quickly as possible leads to the result. And so the romance of sex gradually turns first into routine, and then into tiresome duties. It is clear that there are a million more reasons why people eventually grow cold to each other in bed. It's impossible to list them all, and do you have to? In any case, I would emphasize two things that are universal in these symptoms. Pay attention to them, and maybe it will help you change things for the better. First of all, if you have difficulties, you need to talk about them. Carefully, but necessarily without fear of spoiling something, because if there is no sex, a lot is already spoiled and the train is running into the abyss. It is likely that many misunderstandings will clarify even a simple, frank conversation. If this does not happen, you can try to seek help from a specialist. Secondly, we must remember that even our wives and husbands do not owe us sex. If they sleep with you out of a sense of duty, you can forget about harmony and quality. You should never put pressure on your partner or yourself in sex. The more you try to force yourself, artificially inflate sexual desire, the less it will work out. This is a time-tested fact. Sometimes libido briefly rises from the fear of loss, after another scandal from the offended partner and the proposal to break up, for example, but then, if you do not revise the scenario of the relationship in bed, everything quickly returns to the old direction. You should never put pressure on your partner or yourself in sex. It's hard to find a more non-constant variable than a recent quarrel or strong resentment towards her companion. Sudden decrease in self-esteem due to external factors, comparing oneself with someone else, parents' comments, failures of various types. Exacerbation of a woman's natural tendency to fall into anxious, paranoid, or depressive states. Each has its own pathology, which increases depending on the period of life. Perception of oneself as an object to satisfy the sexual needs of the spouse. He wants sex, but not me. Hormonal disorder. Over-involvement in motherhood. Dissatisfaction with the fact that. Here are a few more recommendations to help awaken attraction. Comfortable, almost hot temperature in the room, no drafts. Raising body temperature artificially can help to increase arousal. Gifts and surprises. Very often girls in their memories of unforgettable sex talk about spontaneity, surprises, and surprise, but not about the sexual performance of their partner. Long conversations and tenderness. Listen to your spouse, sympathize with her. Sometimes women voice some problems not to find a solution, but to get support. Sex toys, there is a simple rule: the more sex and orgasms, the more you want. So masturbation only helps a woman to arouse attraction, not to take away from a man what should belong to him. It's hard for us to accept a painfully simple thing. We can control much less than we would like to, and much less than we think we control. And the very request to a psychologist, "Help me want a wife/husband," sounds absurd, like something from the category of "make him marry me." By the way, a very common request. Paradoxically, it is by accepting your powerlessness in this matter that change can begin. Admit it honestly. Does my partner not want me, or do I not want me? Let it be. Sometimes it is enough to simply shift your attention to other areas. so that the pressure on the problem area is weakened and the attraction begins to gradually recover. And sometimes it is necessary to recognize that it has gone completely and irrevocably, and there is some truth in that too. As you can see, lack of intimacy in a couple is not the end of a relationship, but a challenge that can be overcome. The main thing is to talk to each other, look for the reasons, and work together on a solution. After all, physical intimacy is not only about sex, but also about trust, care, and emotional connection. If the video was helpful, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who may benefit from it. See you in the next video.